Hello, my name is Conces, and this is my project for motor behavior. Today I will be covering motivation and some of its roles in performance. So for an overview of motivation, we will be going over perception of task difficulty, learnability of a task, autonomy of support, and self-efficacy. And I set it up this way because I think they all influence the one below them. And in the end, I think they all have a large effect on self-efficacy and your ability to perform well in the future. To start, we are going to go over the perception of task difficulty. And this can be derived from many things depending on the task or skill that you are practicing. In this example, from a study by Witt in 2012, golfers were given two holes. One was surrounded by little holes, the other one was surrounded by big holes, but the hole in the middle was the same for each. And they found that just by looking at them, most of them thought that the hole surrounded by smaller holes was bigger, even though they were the same size. And they also thought that it would be an easier target. But this was just their mind playing tricks on them. With their perception of the shot being easier, even though they were the same hole, they actually performed quite a bit better on the test. They almost performed twice as good. And this is significant because just changing the perception of a task can affect how you perform. And finding ways to apply this to things that you're practicing could be very beneficial in making it seem easier than you may currently think it is. So for the next section, we'll be going over the learnability of a task or skill. So identifying a task as learnable or unlearnable can affect your performance, interest, and your ability to improve on a skill. So for example, if you see a skill as learnable, you are more likely to be interested in said skill, you're more likely to improve upon it, and you're more likely to have higher self-efficacy towards that skill. The learnability of a skill is complemented quite well by feedback, and there's a couple of different kinds of feedback. The first one being generic feedback, which doesn't really highlight a specific skill or action. So an example would be like, oh, you're a great soccer player, or you're a great athlete. Not usually super useful. The next one is non-generic feedback, which is you talking about a specific skill. Like, that was a great play you had when you threw that guy out at shortstop and you made the double play. Something that's more aimed and focused, something that they can work on. And then there's negative feedback, which most times can be harmful, can make people perform worse. But in some cases, some people perform better when they are given negative feedback. It just kind of depends on who you're working with. So if you're a coach and you're working with an athlete, it's just important to know who you're working with. So next we have autonomy of support, which is also pretty closely linked with feedback. And that is because feedback is often not given in the optimal way for someone to learn and retain a skill. And learners can improve their learning if they're given control of their support system. In a study conducted by Janelle in 1997, she found that feedback overall had a positive effect on performance, and that no feedback at all showed very little improvement. And the people that got to choose when they got their feedback, they performed the best. So lastly, we have self-efficacy, which is the confidence to perform well in the future. I think that perception of task difficulty, learnability of a task, and autonomy of support all affect self-efficacy in a big way. Because if you're lacking any of the areas, your confidence to perform well in the future goes down. If you perceive a task as too difficult or an unlearnable task, then your self-efficacy is going down. So after everything we've gone over in this presentation, the question that I leave you with is, how can we improve self-efficacy?